into space. Interesting words. Accident, water, muscles, damage, machines, suits, going into space. Space. What? Space. What would it be like to go into space? What would it be like to see the moon up close? Some people have been to space, some have walked on the moon. There are even some people who are living in space right now. Big stars. Stars are huge. They only look tiny because they are very far away. Our sun is a star. You could fit 1.4 million Earths inside the sun. Space in history. Thousands of years ago, people used the sun, moon, stars, and planets to work out how to tell the time and months of the year. An ancient astronomer looks up at the stars going into space. In the 1950s, scientists made rockets that went into space. Space travel is very dangerous. The first rockets went to space without people on them. This rocket was launched in 1958. Laika, the very first space traveler, was a dog called Laika. She was sent into space in a rocket in 1957. The first astronauts traveled in rockets. Today they travel in space shuttles. A space rocket. In 1961, Yuri Gagarin became the first person to travel to space. In 1969, Neil Armstrong became the first person to walk on the moon. Space in the future. Space is Space is very big place. So far, people have been to a very small part of it. Astronauts have never been to other planets. Mars, the closest planet to Earth, is Mars. Astronauts hope to go there by 2035. Becoming an astronaut. Becoming an astronaut is hard work. Astronauts have to study very hard at school and university. Astronauts learn how to fly the space shuttle. Then they spend many years learning about space travel, the space shuttle, and the special equipment on the board. The equipment on board. They also have to be very fit and healthy. Scientists make sure that astronauts are fit and healthy. Accidents. Space travel can be dangerous. More than 20 astronauts have died in accidents. In 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded. Sadly, all astronauts on board died. Gravity. Gravity is what makes things fall to the ground. In space, there is very little gravity, so nothing falls. Everything just floats around, even people. Astronauts are taller in space than they are on Earth. There is less gravity pulling down their bodies on Earth. Gravity. In space, gravity. Gravity pulls down the astronauts is shorter. There is less gravity. The astronaut is taller. Living in space. When astronauts finish their training, they go on space missions. Some of these missions are short, but some can last for weeks or even months. International Space Station. Space stations. Astronauts on long missions live on the International Space Station. Kitchen in the International Space Station. Microwaves, refrigerators, water, frozen food. Most of the food is cooked on Earth and frozen. Astronauts just have to reheat it. Special bedrooms, special beds to stop the astronauts from floating while they sleep. Computers, lockers to store their clothes and other personal items. Bathroom, toilet, towels, wet wipes and clothes for washing. Gym, treadmill, exercise bike. Laboratories, machines, equipment and tools to carry out scientific experiments. Computers. Eating in space. Imagine trying to eat when your food won't stay on the plate and your water won't stay in the cup. That's what it's like when astronauts try to eat and drink in space. Space food. In the early days of space travel, an astronaut's food came in tubes like toothpaste. An astronaut watches some water floating. Watch out for those crumbs. Astronauts must make sure that bits of food, water, and other rubbish do not float around the space station. Even the smallest crumbs could damage equipment. Eating chocolates and biscuits in space. Keeping clean in space. Astronauts don't take showers because the water would just float away, so they use wet clothes and wipes to keep clean. Space toilets. In space stations, has special toilets that suck waste safely away. Water is carried to the space station. On the space shuttle, astronauts have to be careful to not waste water. All the waste products at the space station is stored and taken back to Earth. Working in space, astronauts don't go to space for a holiday. Each astronaut has important work to do. Experiments. Astronauts look at how living in space affects their bodies. They also take plants into space and see how living in space affects them. This astronaut is doing experiment on a plant. Astronauts also watch Earth from space. This helps them to learn more about things that happen on Earth, like fires or floods. This astronaut is taking photos of space, a view of Earth from the flight deck of a space shuttle. This is Snurty. She is a baby.